today, the first and not the last live question and answer session with Scott Payne. What is happening, people? Let's make it official. Hit that button. Boop. Live Q&A with me. Let me know if you can see me. There are 16 eyes, 8 people watching this, including myself. So what is up, everybody? I'm super happy to be here. This is going to be awesome, and we're going to continue to do this. So if you haven't at this point, subscribe, do all that jazz. Get on these things so you get notifications that we're going. So going to be a very, very fun day. We're going to get an hour, and these are going to stretch out to an hour and a half and longer to serve you. So goal, let me just state it right now. My goal is to, answer your questions, get you ready, kind of squeeze your brain, massage your brain, get you ready to go so that you can be successful in the exam. We're going to do that in a couple ways, right? We're going to go through and we're going to have you put in your questions, and I'm going to answer them. I got a bunch of questions from the bag of all my Accelerator students that I'm going to go through. And you know what I'm going to do too? Is I'm going to go through hard questions as well. All right. So you're going to see me break them down, and let's get into this. So while we get going, I'm going to say, what's up, everybody? What is up? Put your questions in below. All right. So here we go. We are going to drop in and see what kind of questions that we had. All right. So as we do this, let me see. So we're going to throw the first question up there, and it says, this is a simple one, right? Juanita from our thing says, how do I know if I'm ready for the PMP exam? Like, that's the $1 million question, right? A ton of you out there are studying your hearts out. You're banging your head against the PMBOK and all these other books. You're listening to all these other people that don't know what they're talking about PMP-wise, and you are trying to figure out if you're ready. Now, you want to know how I know that you're ready? And we do this with all the coaching students. The reason why we get them in live calls and we have them open their mouths and explain things is because the students that are ready, first of all, have a mentality where they don't think that they know everything. So they have a certain humbleness, but an eagerness, and they're not afraid to share. So that's first of all, if you got that kind of mentality, you're on the path. And then the second thing, which is the most important thing, they can explain it. And it might not be perfect, like straight out the PMBOK definitions, blah, 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 but it makes sense and it relates, and they can put it in their context. So how do you know if you're ready? Sure, you're getting good scores. Sure, you're, hitting that 80, 75, whatever mark. But mostly, Juanita, out there in TV land, like what you need to be able to do is explain things. So when you take questions, if you got it right or wrong, you're not totally surprised. You can work through it and say, this is what I missed. This is what I can explain. This concept's kind of like that. So that's how we know. So hopefully that helps you. Tom, I see you in the chat thing. We're going to bring you on a little bit. All right, so let me go to another question, rapid fire. All right, so here we go. Tracy Young out there asks, hey, Scott, can you simplify CPI and SBI for me? What do they mean? And how do I know if the values are good or bad? I'm glad you asked, my friend. All right, and so, boom, we go over this fancy section. And right now, I'm going to draw on the board. So how do we know what the deal is with CPI and SBI? All right, well, what's the deal there? All right, so I got to clear it off. Let me go through here. And CPI, SBI, so we're talking about earned value management. Simple concepts, but you just got to get in your head right. So earned value management is all about answering the question of like, how are we doing? Simple question, right? How are we doing on this project? So what you want to know there is we're going to say cost-wise, schedule-wise, how we doing? Now, these are two sides of the equation here, all right? And they're both important. So CPI and SBI, the cool thing is the equations are pretty logical if you understand them, all right? So here I go. Let me try to explain them in a real simple way. Now, what I want you to do is I want you to think of 3 people. Now, I know you just asked me if CPI and SBI, how you make sense of them. I'm going to break it down, all right? So I want you to think of 3 people. Person number 1, I'm going to call this sucker Mr. PV. Mr. PV. Now, Mr. PV, this is what this dude looks like. He's got a little hat. He comes to work on your project. He's smiling. He's content. That's him. He's got a lunchbox. He's a lifer at your company. And what Mr. PV or Mr. Present Value, because we got to know these things to get the CPI and SPI, all right? Tom, I'm going to beat you in a second, dude. You're next. Like, and then what we need to do there is say, yo, this guy comes to work, Mr. PV, and he says all he's worried about each day on your project is he comes in, he sits at his little cubicle, his little desk. He's in a room by himself. He got no windows, but all he's got is a baby clock that tells him what day, what time, and the baby keeps on spinning, right? And then on his little table there, look at that little table. He's got your schedule. So that's what he does. And the schedule, what does it have? These are all the work that needs to be done, whatever. And what he tells you every day when you show up to his office and you pop in and you say, what's up, Mr. PV? How we doing, dude? What he says is, I don't know what's happening outside, brother, but I know that we should be done with so much of this work, all right? So he says we should be done with, let's say, 25% of the work. It could be burning fire outside. Who knows? Pandemonium, zombies attack, Mars, whatever. But he said, based on the schedule that he's got on his desk and based on the clock and the date calendar that he's got on his wall, we should be done with a certain amount of the project. And he puts a number behind that, a value, money sign. Money matters, right? He says, let's just say it's $1 million project and we're a quarter of the time through it. So we should be done with about $250K versus a value right there. Booyah. And that's cool. It's like a raw material. Now, the next person I need you to think about is MS, Miss EV. I call it Eve. So she is not like this Mr. PV dude. She is straight to the floor, running teams, doing all this stuff. So she is out there slinging it, running her teams, putting work boots on, getting work done every day. And when you ask her, Miss EV, what's going on? She says, this is what's going on. We have gotten this much done. So this is what is done that she worries about. And she might be like, dude, we are killing it. All right. We have got $275,000 worth of this road paved. We're killing it. My team's a hero. All right. So that's awesome. She's smiling. Now, when we think about her, oh, you go to her and you say 275. She's excited. That's awesome. You go to him, you say 250. We should be done with that. Like independently, one on the other hand, you look at each of them, you can't really see the big picture. But if you look at them together, what do we have? We can have a relationship between the two and we understand it. So let me switch colors. Fun. All right. So I don't know how to switch colors. Down here. We're not going to switch colors. Here's the thing. When we look at both of them and we compare them, this person to this person, which is PV versus EV right there. So let's just go PV, EV's on top. So earn value, what is done, which is done, the value. And we compare that to what should be done, plan value. That gives us a realization. And it basically says, think about like something in your life. Like we should be done with this much, but we is done with this much. Now, if the is done is more than the should done, what does that tell you? We're beating our schedule, right? So what do these things do? Booyah! That's SPI. That's our schedule performance. So that says we are done, and let's use this example. Earn value said we are done with $275,000 worth of this road. That's pretty sweet. We should be done with 250. That's super duper double awesome, right? And then the thing that we want to know right now is that good or bad? So we know that this is SPI right here as I get my pen back. And we say 275 over 250. I got a calculator, so do you. Here we go. 275 divided by 250 is 1.1. So we got an SPI of 1.1. Now, what does that mean to you? That means that like we know we've done more than we should have done. That's a good thing. And what does this tell you, Tracy? Because you asked, brother, that 1.1 SPI is a good thing. Smiling right there, right? 1.1, I just made it into a smiley face. That's pretty sweet. So above 1 for SPI is awesome. Now, just remember that because CPI is the same thing. But remember these two people to get to your SPI. So you want to get CPI too? Well, here's the thing. So what we do right now is we erase this sucker. We erase PV. See you later, Mr. Bud. And we go and we say, we keep EV because the only thing in life that matters is production, brothers. And so what we bring in, as I realize that this is a inadequate way to erase, is we bring in another person. All right. And we're going to get CPI. And all we're going to do is change this and this bottom value. All right. Appreciate it. Thanks for hanging on the line, Tom. We'll go to you after this little thingy thing. And we're going to go think about this equation, and we're going to say that the next person that we want to meet in a little fun game is named Mears AC. She's been around. She's seen stuff. She's got a relative scowl on her face. All right. And she goes to Miss Evie and says, I know it seems awesome, brother, that you have beaten your schedule. You're ahead in your SPI. But let me tell you that you have spent $325,000 to do it. AC means actual cost. So when we compare that 325 actual spend versus what we got done for the money, which is 275, and we compare those two, you tell me. You happy with that? So when we have our CPI, which is the comparison of here, which is EV over AC, what is done versus what we spent to get it done, we got 375 we got done. We spent 325 to do it. Is that good or is that bad, Tracy, out there in TV land? 275 divided by 325, we got 0.846. 0.846. That is not good. That is frowny face. That's bad. So we have spent way more money to get what we thought done, to get things than we should have. So we got to balance both of those. So bottom of the line, Tracy, what you got right now is below 1 CPI, bad. Below 1 SPI, bad, brother. And above is good. And now you understand why. And if you can just remember those three people, the world's a better place. All right, so cool. So Jamie Finley says CPI makes sense. That's good. All right, appreciate that, James. All right, and so let me clear off the screen, and we're going to go in a second. Patsy P says, how many Agile questions are on the PMP exam? Well, there's about half. So 180 total. There's about 90-ish. If you want to go a little bit less, because the way to think about it is there's like 60, 65, 70 Agile, 20, 30-ish hybrid, and then the rest are waterfall. Now, what we got to understand is the foundations of both. You want to be on camera, dude? No, don't walk around the TV. So that's it. And then here's the other thing. I'm glad you asked, Patsy, because I got a dude on the line that has just taken the test. And I think this is an opportune time to bring him on. Did it work? I don't hear you, Tom. I don't hear you, dude. I'm sorry. Almost. We're going to do this was like the perfect intro. If it did work, let's see. It could be some. I don't know. Yes, sir. What's up? I do not know where your iPad is.
How about that? Can you hear me now? There we go.
We have done it. We have done it, my friend. We have done it. All right. So cool. So Tom, perfect timing. Thought it was cool to bring you on. Patsy just asked the question, how many Agile questions? We'll get to it. But why don't you take 2 seconds, just tell them what you did today, dude.
So this morning at 9:30 a.m., I got stuck into the exam after going through the Accelerator course, all the materials. Tracy, to your question earlier around EVM, I didn't know much about EVM on Sunday, I'll be honest.
Yeah.
And it's mathematics and exams actually have been my Achilles heel my whole life. I went through the EVM materials. I fired up the whiteboard for the exam. I practiced drawing a tool that Scott and his team gives you, which is awesome. And I was able to recreate this, and it just gave me an understanding through going through that process of what was required. And I crushed it today on the exam. I still can't fathom how that happened. It all feels a bit surreal right now, but yeah.
That's awesome, dude. And so you got 3 above targets, way above that. Now, how many, let's go back to Patsy. You sat through it a couple minutes ago. How many Agile questions, rough, percentage-wise or number-wise, you think?
Oh, it felt like actually over half because of the hybrid questions. There's definitely a kind of leaning towards those approaches across many questions, actually. So I was really pleasantly surprised there because in my mind, those questions and answers make more sense than any of the other materials for me, or at least more relevance to me. So I was really pleased to see that today. That helped me a lot.
That's cool. So we'll just keep you on for a couple of minutes. Really, like, let people, whatever you got questions for Tom. He's the man who just did the exam, so he can give you the tightest answers and about reality. You only been with us for like a little over a month, which is cool. How are you doing over a month ago? Like, what was your brain like? Like, what was happening, dude?
Okay, so I was at a loss before I kind of signed up. To be fair, I would walk the dog in the forest. I read all the books. I was trawling through materials. I had 50 different mechanisms of getting information, and I stumbled across your podcast whilst walking the dog, and I was kind of metaphorically and literally lost in the forest with all this information. You kind of spoke to me about a way of learning, which is the only way for me actually to learn. I'm no good with books, and it's to understand things and principles of things. And I started that journey in the woods, and I set the ball rolling, and I was like, I have to do this course, and I did. And yeah.
Dude, that's awesome. So talk to me about how things came together, like the understanding. What are some tricks or techniques that you use, or the things that related to you in the course? Like, what helped things connect for you? Because it might help other people to be like, okay, I can do this. Like, how did you think?
Sure. Yeah. So I mean, the videos are amazing. I was listening to them continuously or watching them. I do recommend actually watching them, but at the times where I couldn't watch them, I was listening to them all the same, and it just solidified a passage through this maze that made more sense to me than this knowledge area, and so on and so forth. And then the 7 flows just pieced it all together to me. Sort of right at the end, but it was just a pathway through all the information, basically, and the support through all the information, which was, absolute gold.
Sweet. That's awesome, dude. I'm so proud of you. And like Danielle Mason, hey, I know you. Best advice for the day before the exam. What you got? Danielle, by the way, Danielle's taking her exam in like 3 days. Okay. So what's your day before exam thing?
Well, I followed like the plan about getting ready. That's a big thing for me, is, methodically feeling prepared for something. So I did, I got the room nice and clear. I went back through the 7 flows, which, as I say, has been, tremendously valuable just to keep my mind in how all of this flows through together. And then I did a few questions without kind of getting to the end where I get the scores. I'd had varying scores throughout, and I realized with your advice that a negative score is actually a really good thing, because it focuses you in on these areas. And before the exam, I was just refreshing myself on those areas where I know that I had scored not so well prior to that, and it really just put the whole thing together for me.
That's awesome, man. And then Antonio, so hopefully Danielle, that answers the question. Ask more, please. Antonio Gonzalez says, how long did you study? And then, like, as you talk about that, like, what was your daily routine like? Stuff like, I know you walk through the woods, but like, other than that, what helped? How long did you study, man?
Yeah, so I would start the day with the videos on my headphones. If I went for a bike ride, I was listening to the videos on the headphones.
Okay.
And then after I finished work and got everything out the way, I put together a solid plan for my evening of things that I wasn't quite understanding from the video. The evaporating data dump was my field of study, essentially. And then I just focused on those areas, for 2 hours, 3 hours a night, just to get that information, solid for myself.
Cool. So you were like working like how many days a week, rough? Like 5, 7, 3, what? Like...
Well, I did the 7-day thing religiously. Like I followed the plan to the letter. So,
okay.
That really put a plan together for me. I mean, the plan was there already, but I supplemented that with, like I say, my evaporating data dump was my, let's get this done in the evening.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Anybody else out there got questions? Come on, this is the time. So you said 3 to 5 hours for a week. Now you were doing like maybe 10 hours a week, right?
Yeah. I was doing about 3 hours off, of an evening, on top of, after I'd completed the 7-day materials. So for however long that was, plus the supplement of that. But yeah, I mean,
and it was like less than a month, so you just cranked it in there pretty good.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And then Robin asked, were the questions on the exam as challenging, as difficult as the questions we do in Hard Question Made Easy calls or sessions or whatever?
I think those calls just give you that like that confidence. I didn't actually find, and I think it's to do with the screen format, but when you read them, some of the longer questions in your format appear to be like monsters. And I didn't see anything as monster as that today, which was, again, it kind of just gives you that little bit of impetus in the exam. You're like, man, I crushed some questions way sort of bigger than this, and I've got this. And I think that sets you up for that as well.
That's awesome. I do make the type big for like, I can have bad eyes. So I think that might be too. You're like, oh my God, it's coming right at me. So that's awesome. That's cool. What else we got out there, guys? And so, so like, what are you going to do now? Or no, let me ask before you do that, like, if there's like one tip, like, or one mistake that people could make, what do you think? Let's go mistake route. Like a lot of people are out there doing like, what's a mistake that somebody can make while they're preparing that you would want them to not make? What do you think?
I think just kind of if you cherry pick the tests that you've done well in so far, which you can continue to repeat, you're not really going to deal with those areas that you've got to get to grips with. So even though it's really hard, when you get a 60, or I got like some 50s, and I was like, oh my God, what am I even doing? And but like I say, it just made me go through those videos again, through those materials again, and then I retook the test and started to hit like 85, 90, and I was like, yeah, this is awesome.
This is it. Got it. All right, cool. How many calculations? Danielle again asked. Thank you, Danielle. How many calculations did you see?
I think there were 3 in the end. But like I say, get to grips with the whiteboard, because you can draw these things, and but the whiteboard's a different prospect. And my top tip would be just get in there, like as you're solving things, just get in a habit of having that open and do it there, because when you get to the exam and you open it up, you're like, I know how to use this thing, and it just gives you another layer of confidence when you get to the exam.
This is awesome. We got a lot of good questions coming in. And the next one is Antonio says, did you find the proctor to be challenging? I took the exam once and was planning to take it again next week. My assumption is that he had a bad time with the proctor. Did the proctor give you a hard time or anything?
Well, not a bad time. I have a tendency to sort of mumble my way through my thought process. And I did that on one occasion, and the proctor said, you can't be talking to yourself out loud, which is cool. Another thing I do is to sort of look up to try and get to that part of my brain or get it kind of working to get the answer. And I was asked to kind of stay in focused in the box. But you know what? It actually helped me in the end because I was able to really get focused in on reading the questions. So
that's awesome. That's awesome. Well, let's take one more. Anybody else got one before we let Tom go? Tom, you did an amazing job. This won't be the last time we chat. So let's see if anybody else puts it in there. And so if they don't, it's not a big deal. So that's cool. So any last thoughts for people, like what they should be doing? How should they be thinking? Should they be scared? Whatever. Any last thoughts before we drop you off, if you don't mind, sir?
Yeah, absolutely. I would just say you can all do it. Like you really, really can. For me to be able to learn and retain this kind of information is has been, a real challenge for me. And historically, exam wise, I've sucked so badly in exams, and I felt so well prepared for this that I'm actually now considering another exam, or like taking this on to
what's the next one for you, dude?
It's going to be the Agile, I think.
Dude, perfect timing. We're doing Agile class next month, like going super deep. So we'll talk later. But I like the fact. Why did you think you were a bad test taker in the past?
Just nerves, and I think the clock running. But you give, a device for managing the clock, and not being afraid of the clock running. And all of the guidelines are there. You just got to open your ears and get stuck in, and don't be deterred by like a 50 or a 60 or whatever it is. It's an opportunity to really get that knowledge sorted out.
That's awesome, man. Well, Tom, I really appreciate it. I'm gonna jump back just to answer more questions. This will not. Yeah, James says great advice. Thank you so much.
You'll get it. You'll get it. And thank you, Scott, man. Seriously.
It means a lot. I remember the first time we chatted and like gotten in there and you jumped in the call, and the next day we just started running. So I'm super glad that we were able to help you. And I'll talk to you later, man.
I really appreciate it.
Anytime,
Thank you.
man. See ya. Yes, sir. Bye-bye. Okie dokie. We got 20 people in there. One time, great. Let me go to the full screen. Booyah. Now it's your turn. Tell me things. Ask me things. I answer things. Maybe. What do you got? What are the questions that you got? What you got? Let me see. We got one back up there with Tina, I think, and everybody else shoots here. How do I know the different types of contract types? This is a good one, and this is a scary one, because a lot of you out there, myself included, were just on the working part, like the project part. We weren't in like the figure it out, like what's the deal with contracts? Like we didn't know, right? And so the thing that I want you to know with contract is like, you got to think through like if it's your money. That's the way I want to think about first. It's always my money. It's always my company. It's always my responsibility. That's the way at any job I wanted to think through it. Now I got a company. It is my money, so I got to worry about it. But when we do contracts, we want to think very, very simply like, where is the risk? Okay. Where is the risk in the contract? Okay. So Tina, if you're still out there, why don't you tell me some contract types? Can you do it? You still there? Can you type in there? Well, what are the different contract types? Or anybody else down there, like, what are the different types? Like, there's something plus, there's something else, there's something cost. Like, anybody going to tell me right off the bat? Come on. You might be checking. Oh, nobody. Everybody getting sheepish now. Come on. You can do it. It's all right. So there's like, let's think about this. There's cost plus contracts. We're just going to go from a high level, because what I want to do right now, we're not going to go through all of them, but I just want you to understand a major key point on how to think about these things. So there's a cost plus type of contract. There's a fixed cost contract type, and then there's variance inside of that. Okay. Inside of each one. So these break up into three. We won't go through those here, and then there's a time and materials contract. Three types of contracts. They all break up. Thank you very much, Jamie Finley, for saying cost plus, cost reimbursable, fixed price. Bam. Everybody's dropping in there. That's good. And so what I want you down there in the chat to do right now is to say, all right, so let's just say this is us, like right here. us and them. All right. And them being the people that are doing work for us, right? It's not like us versus them, it's us and them, because contracts are mutually agreed upon situations to serve a common good, right? They're doing something for us, you're providing work, capitalism, bros. So, like, where does the risk mostly occur money wise with a cost plus contract? Does it occur with us? Are we holding it, or is them holding it in a sense? Where? So, Jamie, Antonio, Tina, Danielle, James, and I don't give everybody. Is it with us? Is the risk in cost plus with us or them? Tell me. I'll tell Roy, I'll get you in a second. How do you choose between cost plus and time and materials? That's a good one. We'll get to that in a second, but somebody's got to tell me where the risk is. If the contract gets going with its cost plus, are we taking the brunt of the cost, or is it on the person providing the services for us? Them. So cost plus says them, right? And so let's say Jamie says them, Roy says them, like, and so let's think about this. What does cost plus mean? It basically means that they're going to do work. They got a little hammer. They got things to hammer, whatever. They got nails. They're going to do the work, and basically we're going to pay the cost as a pass through for everything they're doing. Okay. So think about like somebody painting your house or fence or something like that. They say, you're going to pay for the paint. You're going to pay for the whatever, the materials, the things that I use, my time, all that stuff. And I'm going to get a little bit extra. So like when we think through that, do you still think them or do you think us? That's a pause. Now let's use the same example. Like with them, the cost risk is not with them, it's with us. Because what if this dude has buckets of paint and he kicks them over? Blah, paint's here. Not only is it an ecological disaster, but it's a disaster for your budget. Okay. Because this paint, what we got to do? We got to buy a new bucket. We got to get a new thing. We got to clean up the yard. We got to do whatever. Now, with the cost plus, meaning that we are taking the risk with the cost because we're going to pay and write checks to cover that. So the risk is on us. Risk is on us. And we can put limits and all those things to keep the cost from going to the roof. But yes, Antonio says. He says, yes, us, right? Now, let's play the other game, painting the fence. If they say, man, I need this job, brother, I need to paint the fence, I'll do whatever. That's not usually how the good contract goes, but they're saying, I can do it. I can name that tune for $1,000, $2,000, whatever. You say, sweet, paint that fence for $1,000. You think it's fair? You think it's whatever? Now, what do they got to do? They got to go out and buy the paint, buy the paintbrushes, whatever, get the tarps, do whatever. And then they take it on. And what happens if they get halfway through the day and whoosh, the rain comes down or a dog walks up and puts his paws all over it, whatever? Like, where is the risk? Because what you're asking for is a finished fence, painted, looking all nice and you said, I'm giving you $1,000. Now, if the dog comes and puts his, paws on it and mixes it all up or whatever, the risk is on them. So when we think through what kind of contract do we want, we got to think about what serves the need of the project, what serves the need of the thing that we're trying to serve to. And then if we're picking one, be very, very careful on where the risk is. Are we taking a giant risk with a cost plus, or is it the right kind of situation, or is the fixed cost putting the risk there? Obviously, we don't want the painter out of business, right? So we got to be understandable. We can have adjustments in there. Maybe the price of paint goes through the roof or something like that. Get economic price adjustments in there. Who knows? Those kind of things. So the risk there. Now, time and materials, another game. Okay. Time and materials is kind of like when we want supplemental labor, time, effort, things like that. I was a consultant for a long time. And they would just say, we need 1,000 hours of consultant time or whatever. We say, sweet. Like they would say, sweet, I'm assuming it's this much an hour, right? In the John story, that's what John needs. He needs extra specialized help. He doesn't know exactly how much he needs, but he knows he needs some type. So they go out to the market in my fantasy story and they say, hey, we got these things. We need these consultants, bring them in, time and materials. And they say, let's just call it, $300 an hour. Goodness me, they're getting us. But that's what we're getting there. And so when we think about cost, what did you ask? Good point. I think the cost plus from the contractor side, right? I was thinking of cost plus from the contractor. Yeah. If you're the paint guy and the cost plus, you'd love that because you're just there to paint the fence, bro. You're just there to paint the fence. And you're going to get paid whatever and a little bit of cream on top. That sounds good. Whatever deal you cut. All right. And so that's good. And then you said, how do you decide between cost plus and time and material? Well, it's a different mechanism. Time and material, we have defined need. We have a defined like number of hours or the type that we need, and we just need to purchase those. So it's like time and material, and that's what we're getting. Now, cost plus is more of like a more complex project, those kind of things that we need, procurement. That's the deal there. So sweet. Hopefully does that answer the question? Hopefully for contracts. Let's clear the page. Next. What we got next? We got tons of time. Give me another question. I can pull something up from the whatever, but I'd prefer you guys to ask it. Shimon. Can set limits. Yeah, somebody asked, Antonio, time and materials, we can set limits, right? Absolutely, we can. That's cool. We can set limits on it. Danielle Mason asks, what's the difference between analogous, parametric, 3-point? That's pretty sweet. I got to tell you guys, like, I like doing this, but I would much rather if YouTube had like a voice function where I could hear the words, because it's like all of my teaching is Socratic, meaning like I ask a question back. So you ask a question, it's like, that's not the way we do this. I got to ask you back, but I'm going to try to make it here. So Danielle, sweet. What's the difference between analogous, parametric, and 3-point estimating? Okay. So they are just different techniques that allow us to create estimates for, our schedule, our scope, our cost, whatever we're estimating, just different ways. All right. So there's a mechanism of like how they work, and there's a reason why we use them that we got to think about. So let's think about how they work. All right. So analogous, man, I don't want to spell this word. It's long. Analogous. All right. Now, what does that make you think of? I've written a bunch of books. I barely ever read books, and I'm not that good with English. But analogous makes me think of analogy because it's pretty much the root word, right? And so that's a relationship. So when we're thinking about an estimating technique, we got to think, what's the right kind of estimating technique for the situation? Now, analogous, analogy, is something where we have data from the past that's representative. So say we're building McDonald's, right? Franchises or whatever. Like this is the old Mickey D's with those like two little arrow thingies or whatever you call them, the arches. You think they built those before? Yeah, they crank those babies out all the time. You think they know how much it costs? Probably to the T. And they probably got an expectation now. This is what it takes. Probably different like locations and different layouts, whatever. But if they needed to right off the bat, it kind of looks like a Happy Meal, by the way, to say, hey, we need to estimate how much it takes to put in a McDonald's. They've done it thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So they're like, dude, it costs $750,000 or $1.5 million, $2 million, whatever to do it. They can have a breakdown, but they have a pretty darn good estimate of what it is, because it is like to put up another Mickey D's right there. Boom, boom, right? We know what it's going to, because we have a relationship with the past one. Now, what's the risk here? No. The risk is that what you think is in the past that's relative to the one now, the estimate that you're doing off, isn't the same. Looks the same, feels the same, but ain't the same. Or that special circumstances were in the past version that aren't on this one. So we'd set ourselves up for a world of hurt if we just used the past one to reference the new one. Oh, we did it like this in the past without thinking this one. So a lot of times these are the roughest, quickest, high-level estimates. If we got super duper double deep, this might not be the way we need to go. All right. But it is a quick, fast way we can do it. But you got to make sure that it's referencing the same kind of thing. That's analogous. Parametric might be different. Now, parametric, root wordy thing, parameter, right? Parameter, what's a parameter? It's something that we use to, I don't even know what it is, to calculate and extrapolate out, meaning shoot out in the math sense. My dad used to run a roofing company, and you know what roofs are? They're pretty big. That's science. And so when you think about estimating a roof, it's a flat surface for industrial stuff. That's real big. So whether the thing is like this or this size, the full size, what's the difference? Well, I'm sure that, the work that it takes to do this, you're just laying tiles, doing whatever. I don't know how to do a roof, tarring things. I saw Shawshank Redemption. Like they're doing this. So like parametric is like, what does it take to do 1 square foot? And then let's just calculate how many square foot we got. So it's like, hey, it takes like 1 hour, 1.5 hours. I don't know, 1.5 hours per square foot. Just doing it for math. All right. And then we just go, is it, times 10 square feet? That would be 15 hours, whatever we got to pay. Or is it 1,000 square feet? Bigger thing. That would be 1,500, right? Or yeah. All right. Yeah. 1,500 hours. So that's one where the situation allows us to extrapolate out, meaning like it's a thing that's relative. There's a model. It might not be as simple as like square feet per hour, or hours per square foot. It might be a mathematical model that the fancy people have calculated based on our costing and our performance or whatever, and go out there. If you think about what Salvador, one of my coaches, has done, we've run almost 500 people through the accelerator in the last year. We've destroyed the results, like 90 something high percent, 96.8 or something like that. And then last year we've been, 111 for 113. So killing it, right? What we've also got is a heck of a lot of data on how long, because the system records how long people take to finish the videos and all that stuff. It's just the math that's in the machine. So what we can do now is we can extrapolate how long it's going to take you to finish the course. Isn't that cool? Because we go, all right, each video is this long. This is how much time people spend. They spend a little bit more than the video takes because you pause it, you think, you do all that stuff, you watch it again, whatever. And then we can extrapolate out how long it would take for the course. That's parametric estimating your time in the course. And if you tell us how long you have per day, then we can just figure out how long it's going to take you to get through the course. Lickety split. All right. Now, the third type that you're missing is 3-point. All right. And this is just straight up math, brothers. And they could either be 3-point or beta. It's just the same equation. Anybody want to tell me down below, click, clack, what the equation is for 3-point? Come on. Tell me. Somebody be smart. Super duper smart. It's like, if you want to be really weird about it, it's called like the MOP equation. All right. And I made that up. That ain't a PMBOK. It's MOP. All right. Divided by 3. And that's the 3-point estimate. So our estimate is, what we think about is we have data and we have estimates. We have feelings on like what is most likely. That's the M. What's the most likely occurrence? So it could be like 10 days is most likely. That's in the middle of the road. Then we could say the most optimistic, man, if everything goes in our way, it's going to take us 6 days. All right, sweet. Then what's the pessimistic? Oh, Lordy. If it goes bad, it's going to take us 20 days. All right. We got those 3 laid out. We divide by 3. Anybody want to do the math for me? That's 36 divided by 3. That's 12, right? I think that's right. That's 12 days. And so what we're doing now is thank you, Danielle. Nailed it. You're going to do good on Friday. I know you are. So we get that to do it, that way to do it. So why are we doing a 3-point estimate? Because like we want to. Tell me why. Come on. Don't leave me alone out here. Somebody tell me, why would we use 3-point estimating? I can wait. I hope you're having fun. Somebody knows. Well, while the sheepish typers are waiting, I'll tell you, it's because we want to incorporate our different expectations, our different estimates, our different beliefs, most likely, optimistic, pessimistic, bring them all, like meld them together, dollar cost average in a sense, what we think is possibly likely. So we want to take both into account. All right. Now there's beta, and that throws a 4 in front of the most likely. All right. So what that does is it just throws in there to use all estimates. Thank you, Antonio. It's the fastest path. Like the fastest path would be to use Analogous, to use examples, but 3 points pretty darn fast. It's rough, but it can sometimes get you directionally correct and good using estimates or real data like on the past. So that's good. All right. So hopefully that helped. Now today we're only going to do an hour, but every time else it's an hour and a half because I got a coaching call that some of you are on in a minute. What I think I'd like to do now, if it's okay with you, is can I talk through a question or two? And you guys go through. Is that okay? Chat down. Is it okay? I'll do what you say. Probably. Let me find one that's fun. All right, this is kind of fun. Let me switch it and throw it up there. Booyah. So this is the hard questions made easy with Scott portion of the evening. So yeah, Tia says, let's go. Tina says, let's go. Tia says, yay, thumbs up, whatever. That's awesome. Do I have any classes I can sign up to prepare for the exam next week? Antonio, absolutely. Dude, I can kill it in a week. Antonio, do me a favor. Email me right now, Scott@PMmasterPrep.com. Scott@PMmasterPrep.com. I'll put you in a coaching call in 14 minutes. And then we'll see how you're doing. All right. So, or text me right now. If you want to get real crazy, dude, we could do a consultation on the thing right now if you want to. I don't care. I think it'd be fun. I'll shoot you the link. So yes, we have a class that can get you ready to prepare for my exam next week. We will destroy it next week, brother. So send me a text, send me a call. I'll go solve this question while you do that. All right. So the reason why I went to this fancy little thing right here is because how you solve problems matters. Everybody out there in the internet machine, it just says take 1,000 questions, look at stuff, whatever. Amateur hour, bro. Like what we want is we want a logical process to go through because these problems on the PMP exam can be funky. They can get you turned sideways. They can have like holes that you fall in. You can get wrapped around it. But if we get laser focused in how we solve problems, the game is over in a good way. All right. And so what we do down here, and if anybody else wants to get going, jump on a coaching call tonight, see what's up, have me assess them, whatever, just either call me, text me, or put in there. Right. And so what we want to do is we want to go through these steps. Now what's up, Antonio Martinez, brother? I don't know how I'm channeling Hulk Hogan tonight, but I watched YouTube videos on Hulk Hogan and Macho Man. I don't know why today for like 5 minutes. So sorry. Antonio, I'll send you a link. Get on the 7 p.m. It'll be at like 7:01. You'll get it. You'll be cool. All right. So the steps are down below. Align, understand, assert, evaluate, decide, and improve. Don't memorize an acronym. Just think through it. In the accelerator, I walk through everything. So first thing I want to do when I go to a question is I want to align myself with the question. I run the question don't run me. All right. So here's how we do it. I read the last sentence. My game, your game. Okay. Which category of COQ, cost of quality, should the project manager have used? Okay. Then I think in my brain, is that next? Is that now? What are we doing here? What am I thinking for? I'm looking at for cost of quality, a category of it. What should we have used? So I bet there's a heck of a problem here. What should we have used? All right, cool. Let's go to number 2. Now I want to understand it. All right, go back to the top and I want to read it. A new product is released. All right, sweet. I release products all the time. I got it. We released the product. When a customer identifies performance issues, oh shit, with this product, the project manager realizes that cost of quality, COQ, should have been used to estimate this cost. Which category of COQ should the project manager have used? You see how like in there, so I'm trying to understand. And for me, if I emphasize words, it makes them pop out in my brain a little bit better. Now it takes time, whatever. So I try to summarize it in my head and try to get the students to. Okay, so the problem here is we just released something. The customer ring-a-ding says, hey, it sucks. We have a problem. It's not good. I don't like it. You're bad. No more friends. Stuff like that. Bad, right? Bad. And they're saying, what should have been used to estimate this cost? So I got to first know, like, what is cost of quality? All right. And so before I get into that, I would assert myself what I think the answer is. Now, I mean, I know what the answer is because like quality isn't a thing, but like what I want to know is, all right, so what kind of cost of quality? And like, why don't you guys play the game too? Like assert for yourself. Tell me what you think the type of cost of quality that we should have used to estimate this cost is. Type it down below. Should it have been like a prevention cost, like something way up front that would have kept this from happening, or like something in the appraisal world, or like failure costs or something like that? D. Antonio says D, a cost benefit analysis. We should have done that, right? And Antonio, tell me why, dude. Like why would we have used that? Like how that's the kind of cost of quality category that you would have used. Tell me why. Totally awesome, dude. Type it out. External, Danielle says, cool. Who else? Because the customer found the issue. This would be external. Love that. Respite says prevention costs. So there's some disagreement in the ranks. Please don't fight, but I like it. Keep it coming. Prevention, Respite says. So I'll pop them up there. We got prevention, external, because the customer found it external. Cool. Antonio says cost benefit. So there's not uniformity in our answers, which is awesome. All right. And so what we want to do is we want to next evaluate. And I just lost my face. Don't worry, I'm still here. Just I haven't had it framed, okay? And so we're going to go back to assert so you can see my face. It's just a production thing, no big deal. So we're in the evaluate section right now. Now, what we want to do is we want to think. And I got to draw on this screen. I don't like this drawer, but I'm going to do the drawing. All right? And so when we think of cost of quality, first of all, we got to understand that from the ideation of the product to the time when the customer gets it and is super happy or sad, everything that we do that affects quality in certain ways is technically part of the cost of quality, whether we think about it or not, okay? Antonio says, I would want to see exactly what the value would add to the customer for utilizing the product. Okay, dude, that's good to know, like everything that we invest for them to use it. All right. I understand. And the cool part is we can talk about this in an hour. And Karen, I'm not good at English, says B, external. Love it. And so cool. So everything that goes into this is considered related to quality is considered in the overall auspice of cost of quality. Okay. So cost of quality, everything from beginning to end that we do, invest, whatever. Now we got to think about where we found the issue. Who found it? The customer, right? So that's right at the worst time. That's what we're trying to prevent. All right. So what do they give us as examples or answers? Prevention, external, appraisal. Those are real things, and cost of benefit, maybe. All right. So the way I want you to think, and I'm going to start from the beginning. Let's think about how the breakdown of cost of quality goes. We can spend our money a lot of different ways. For cost, for quality, you're going to pay for it somewhere. It's just you pay for it early, in the middle, or at the end. Now, depending on where you invest in quality, the total will be different. And I'll tell you why. Okay? And so early on, there's like what we call internal and external quality things that we can invest in. All right? Now, early on, what's an early cost? Like if we're getting this going, what kind of things can we do early on that would potentially drop the risk of quality issues? Type it down below. What kind of things could we do? Like we could hire really great people. We could give them the right tools. We could give them the right training. I'm running out of paper. Stuff like that, right? We could give them the time to do the work. We can make sure the machines are calibrated. We can do all those things. That would be up front. All right, right here. And that is what we would call prevention cost. Those are all prevention costs. All right. And that's right here. So a lot of people out there who will boom, we could do audits. So T Marie, audits, would that be a prevention thing or what? Like, what do you think? Let's hold the audits for a second. Yeah. So right at the beginning, prevention stuff is all this, like hire the right people, give them the right school skills, give them the right equipment, the machines, all that stuff, the materials, time to do their work, all that jazz. Like that is prevention cost that keeps us from potentially making mistakes. All right. So that's all invested. And that costs money, but it probably doesn't cost the most of anything. So let's just call it one money sign. All right. Now, as we get into it, we invested that money. Why? To keep our quality good, right? Now, the other thing that we might do is we might say, I trust my people, but I want to check them out. And what did Marie say? T. Marie? She said audits, right? Audits, inspections, those kind of things. That inside the plant, if we're working in a plant, would be what? Appraisals. Like, remember Antique Roadshow, that whatever? What do? They look at stuff. And so same thing, this is what I used to do in a factory, is you'd be a quality person going out there, taking samples, statistically sampling, doing tests, watching processes, evaluating stuff, doing audits, strategically planned. Those are appraisal costs. Those things cost money. Putting a quality person in a plant, running tests, doing all these things, taking products, testing them, destructive or non-destructive, whatever, costs money. A little bit more, we'll call it like 2 money signs. But it's good because what could we do there? We could find problems or see their processes are killing it, right? Use a statistical process controller or whatever. So all those tests are appraisal costs, all to prevent the customer from getting the bad news of having bad quality. Now, as you know, we could do another thing after it's done there, and we could say, before it leaves our docks, let's inspect it. So we have internal inspection. That's another type where we could just say, run it through again, test it again. That costs more money. And then the thing is, the cost of like the actual inspection might not be a lot, but the cost of finding a problem and fixing it, oh my goodness me, it gets more expensive. Because right here, pre-problem, easy to fix how people are like doing the work because we haven't made the bad thing yet. Finding it in there while they're doing it sucks because we got to redo it. But at least it's close to the work as early as possible, not passing it through the chain. And then inspection, it's like, woo, thank God we didn't ship it. But man, it sucks because we got to grind all these welds. We got to redo it. We got to rework it. So the cost of like finding it is a lot, but then the cost of fixing it and rework is a lot. But you know what? The one thing that's a lot more is having the customer find it. And that's what happened here. And that's what we call external failure cost. That should make your spine tingle. That's the bad stuff. And that costs a lot. That costs because we got to ship it back. That's a money sign. We got to remake it. We got to, kill our schedule and our costs and our time. We lose relationships there. So that's money. That's bad. So in this one, when we go through and we try to decide, right? When we think about where the buckets are, my big thing is, dude, we broke it down and they said it's external failure cost, right? That's where we decide here because the bucket that we would have put money aside to handle this specific issue is technically external failure cost. Now you might say, Scott, that's crazy because why wouldn't we just fix the problem? But let me think about this. I talked to a dude who works for Chrysler. He could be on the call right now. And it's like Chrysler pumps out cars. I love Detroit. GM, Detroit, all these Chrysler, all these places. I'm a big fan. Like they have money set aside for like recalls, defects, all those things. Now they're doing their darndest to produce an awesome product. All right. I'm a big Yukon guy. I don't have one, but I wish I did. But they are putting money in buckets to say, hey, we're going to do a bunch of prevention money. Put that in a bucket. A bunch of appraisal in the plants and otherwise. A bunch of internal inspection money in a bucket. I don't use a bucket, I don't think. And then the last one, we got to prepare ourselves because we don't want to go broke or past our budget if we don't plan for like how we get these recalls back and stuff like that. We don't want them. We got to plan for them. So all these things, we're making calculated investments in each one of these things to lower the overall cost of quality. Now, it's all dependent on the type of product that we're delivering, the customer expectations, all those things. But that's where they're investing their time and money. All right. So hopefully that was helpful. We just did one question. This is, the first of many. Don't worry. We're going to rip it apart. But think what we did here. And the last part of this process is improve. I want you to squeeze every question, just get the juice out and be like, dude, I'm better from this. And right now we go, I screwed it up. I didn't understand the different categories. I didn't understand the cost of quality whole thought that we're trying to minimize it. I didn't understand something, or I did. You try to write down what you were weak at so that you can get better. Bleed now so we don't die on the exam. And that, my friends, is it for tonight. Okay? That was number one. If you had fun, I thought class started at 7 p.m. It does. It's 7 p.m., dude. If you're in my other class, yeah. So if you want True Hebrew, what's up? If you are, send me a text, 757-759-5282. If you're not in my official Fancy Pants class, and I can get you in there just to check it out. But if not, whatever, I got to go to that. If you had fun, I don't know, share it, love it, get better. I got to go. I'll see you later. Alligator. Antonio, I'll see you in a minute. I'm going to send you a link. Adios. Bye-bye.